20D in just a minute. Okay, so we'll pick up with report informational item 20D, which is the sage grouse update. Secretary Wasley. Secretary Wasley will provide an update on the status of sage grouse. Tony?
Thank you, Chairman. As previously reported, I guess the primary focus of Nevada's sage grouse planting efforts are centered in the BLM's resource management plan, their land use plan amendment. Since we have 85% of our state's land managed by the federal government, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service will rely heavily on what's contained in the Department of Interior, in the BLM's land use plan amendment. Presently, there is a preferred alternative, but the final EIS for that land use plan amendment is expected out later this spring, perhaps late April or into May. The Fish and Wildlife Service will then evaluate the contents of that land use plan amendment in determining by September 16th whether or not the species is warranted or not warranted for a listing. So there's been ongoing discussions with the state's Sagebrush Ecosystem Council, the Ecosystem Technical Team, as far as developing the state plan, and that state plan has been adopted. It's our understanding that it is being incorporated into the BLM's EIS as part of the preferred alternative in areas that the BLM deems the state plan to be deficient or inadequate. The BLM may choose to go above and beyond. We won't know that until the BLM's final EIS is released, as I indicated, late April or May. So presently, we're still meeting as a Sagebrush Ecosystem Council. We're still trying to get the state's mitigation system, the conservation credit system, off the ground with credit projects, debit projects. So with that, Chairman, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add.
I don't at this time. Any questions or comments from the commission? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close item 20D, and Tony, you're on the spot with 20E, Department Activity Report. Secretary Wasley, Director Wasley will provide a report on recent department activity.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for the last year and a half or so, this has been an item that has been on commission agendas. Historically, when we have full agendas, we haven't been able to give it its due. One thing that we've tried to do recently is to provide perhaps a more detailed and broader picture of some of the responsibilities and actions that are ongoing within the department. So I have 10 pages of input that I received from staff, and I'll try just to hit on some of those high points. And if it's the pleasure of the commission and there are any questions on these as we go through them, it might be more efficient to do it at the end, but I'll try to hit some high points by division. So the big game tag application period begins Monday, March 23rd, closes on Monday, April 20th. There's a few application books are back here on the table. You'll notice some significant changes in that. I'll speak to that later when I provide an update for the Conservation Education Division. Effective July 1, management responsibilities of the department's Air Operations Program will move from the Operations Division to the Game Division. Operations Division Administrator Bob Hoyen and Game Division Administrator Brian Wakeling have been coordinating this transition closely to ensure a smooth changeover. A couple updates from the Game Division with respect to capture and monitoring. In the East Humboldt Range, 14 Rocky Mountain Bighorn sheep originally relocated from Alberta, Canada in February of 2013 were recaptured in late January of this year and marked with radio collars. These bighorn sheep were sampled and did not test positive for any pneumonia pathogens, although a ewe that died during capture did have bot fly larvae in her sinus cavities. During the same capture event, 11 Rocky Mountain goats, 5 billies, and 11 nannies were marked with VHF radio collars to document interactions with sympatric bighorn sheep. In combination with the other mountain goats captured in the East Humboldt since 2012, there are currently 34 marked mountain goats. Preliminary tests indicate that 2 of the 11 goats tested positive for Mycoplasma ovinominae. Currently, the East Humboldt goat population is estimated at 100 to 110 individuals. In the Rubies in January 2015, 7 bighorn sheep, 5 ewes, a lamb, and a yearling ram were captured. The lamb and yearling ram were new captures. The recaptures were outfitted with a combination of satellite and VHF collars that will be used for future sampling and monitoring of lamb production and recruitment. 4 goats were also captured, marked, and sampled in the Rubies primarily for continued disease surveillance. Just a few other captures that occurred in January. 25 mule deer does were captured for marking and disease surveillance from the Rubies and Pequot Mountains. 14 elk were captured for radio collaring and disease sampling on the Nevada-Idaho border as part of a collaborative study. And there's been some duck work as well. Canvasback trapping and banding has been ongoing since February 2nd in the Swan Lake area of London Valley, north of Reno. Project goals are to attach geolocators to canvasback ducks. Those devices track bird movement. An additional 100 birds will receive metal bands and will be used as a control group for the project. This project is being funded through the Department's Duck Stamp program and is a joint effort between the Department and the Nevada Waterfowl Association. The final 2014 big game hunt results were compiled, and hunt returns through February 2nd for all big game species have been provided to the webmaster for posting on the website for use in deciding perhaps where to apply for the upcoming application period. Overall cow elk management hunts were effective to increase harvest while not increasing hunter congestion. Record number of 256 desert bighorn sheep rams were harvested in 2014 with age equal to long-term average and a slight decrease in horn score. However, we had the lowest average of hunt days ever recorded. Second draft of the predation management plan for fiscal year 16, on which the commission was briefed earlier, has been shared with Wildlife Services and the Sportsman's Coalition, as well as with the Wildlife Damage Management Committee. Nevada's Heritage Mule Deer Tag sold for a record high of 100,000. Brief update on the weather conditions. Months of December through February were the warmest on record in Elko, which was indicative of the entire region. In addition, precipitation and snow loads are hovering at 50% or less in the majority of the region. Sage-grouse lek activity and big game migration is occurring more than a month earlier than on normal years. Wildlife health update, Walker Lake waterfowl die-off event. Local volunteers from the area report that no new carcasses are being identified and beach walks are only turning up severely decomposed remains. Preliminary results from a number of the fresher carcasses submitted to the USGS National Wildlife Health Center indicated that avian cholera continued to be the cause of the outbreak. In total, approximately 3,000 waterfowl probably succumbed this year. Highly pathogenic avian influenza. 1 dead red-tailed hawk was turned in from the Minden area and sent for testing. This subadult bird was emaciated with indicators of chronic stress. The bird was negative for avian influenza. To date, only a single waterfowl from Clark County is tested positive for the disease. Personnel update. Cooper Munson was selected as the new game biologist in the Panaca-Pioche area, a position previously held by Mike Scott. For those of you that don't know, Mike Scott was promoted into the Western Region Game Supervisor position, formerly held by Mike Doble. Dane Valley was selected as the new deer and antelope compensation biologist in Elko, which is a position previously held by Cody Mangini. Cody was promoted to area biologist in Ely, position previously held by Kurt Boffman. Heather Reich was selected to fill the conservation aid position previously held by Cooper Munson. Heather comes with qualifications that include grizzly and black bear handling, bear trapping experience, use of Karelian bear dogs, bear sample data collection, and telemetry. The fisheries world development of an urban fishing pond in Winnemucca is moving forward. Staff have been working with the Humboldt County on a project design and cooperative agreement, and the county is currently working with a private landowner on an agreement for a pond site. Reconstruction of Jigs Reservoir has been completed. Unfortunately, it's unclear with the drought conditions if enough storage can be captured this year to reestablish the fishery. Severe drought conditions are expected to impact sport fisheries in northern Nevada again this summer and fall. Beyond a likely fourth year of ongoing severe drought, Division of Water Resources has indicated that the past 15 years have been the driest period ever recorded in Nevada. Major reservoir storage is already very low, although several waters, including South Fork and Wilson Sink, are staying okay and may get through the year with relatively minimal impacts. To address the expected conditions, the Fisheries Division again has initiated trout stocking in major waters beginning in February to allow maximum fishing opportunities before conditions deteriorate. Truckee River flows are expected to be similar to 2014, with an early reduction in stream flows and extremely poor conditions below Glendale by mid to late summer. We continue to have concerns about the fishery at Ruby Marsh. Discussions with the Refuge and Fish and Wildlife Service to resolve our concerns are ongoing. The hatchery program has filled several important staff vacancies in the past month, including a new manager at Gallagher Hatchery and a technician position for Mason Valley Hatchery. The aquatic invasive species program is gearing up for the 2015 boating season and will continue to have inspection and decontamination stations at Lahontan, Rye Patch, and Wild Horse reservoirs in cooperation with state parks. Given the expected low storage conditions, these will likely shut down early again this year when boat ramp access is lost. An inspection station will be continued at South Fork Reservoir to address the zebra mussel DNA detection from that location last summer. Lake Mead National Recreation Area inspections and decontaminations will continue at Colville Bay, Hemingway, and Cottonwood Cove. Discussion is also ongoing with the Fish and Wildlife Service on the possible downlisting or delisting of the endangered Clover Valley speckled bass in Elko County. This may still take several years, but NDOW survey data has shown overall stable or increasing numbers over the past several years. We also have a renewed conservation agreement and strategy for the Columbia spotted frog. That was released on March 13th. It's a 10-year term. Signatories include NDOW, Fish and Wildlife Service, BLM, Forest Service, Nye County, and others. It's particularly important as the frog is a candidate species, and the Fish and Wildlife Service is expected to make a listing decision within the next 2 years. A couple quick updates from the Habitat Division. The United States District Judge Miranda Dew on March 12, 2015 issued an order to dismiss NACO's lawsuit seeking an order to require the U.S. Department of Interior and the Bureau of Land Management to comply with the requirements of the Wild Free-Roaming Wild Horse and Burro Act of 1971 as amended. NACO, along with the Nevada Farm Bureau Federation, filed a lawsuit in December 2013 aimed to protect Nevada's rangelands, the state's limited natural resources, and the horse and burro populations. Presently preparing comment for the Carson City BLM District's RMP with comments due by April 27th. Isaac Metcalf was recently selected as the new Wildlife Management Area Supervisor for Mason Valley. Isaac has been a supervisor at Kurt's Wildlife Management Area south of Ely. The Northern Guzzler crew just completed their first volunteer project of the year in cooperation with NBU. The East Side Guzzler south of Hawthorne was constructed on March 14th with 43 volunteers in attendance. Wildlife management areas are evaluating alternatives to deal with another drought year. Mason Valley is having less than 10% of the river decree and 50% of the curtailment. We just saw a presentation pertaining to that. Carson Lake will receive 20% allocation with the irrigation season ending by late June, and scripts will again likely be dry by early summer. Law enforcement, the Eastern Region wardens are busy investigating a poached deer case in which a doe mule deer was killed out of season without a tag in Spring Creek. Press release is seeking information and has revealed some suspects, and they're currently being followed up. Numerous other big game cases have also been filed with district attorney offices in the district attorney's office in the Eastern Region as wardens complete investigations from the fall hunting seasons. This includes an antelope killed out of season without a tag, a large trophy deer killed in Great Basin National Park, and a doe antelope killed with a buck antelope tag and not reported. We have 8 new hires in law enforcement academies and anticipate having to fill 5 more vacant positions by early summer. This will be due to 4 people who've left for other agency employment and 1 retirement. By midsummer, we will have had 19 to 20 game wardens quit in their first years of employment to go to work for another agency during the last 6 years of state employee problems. Out of 31 field positions, this vacancy rate makes it extremely difficult to accomplish our mission. We find ourselves in a perpetual hiring and training process. Conservation Education Division, the 2015 big game season and application regulation publication is now available. As I indicated, there's a few back there in the back of the room on the table. NDOW's made several changes in an effort to make it more user-friendly, including content, layout, and design. All hunts are now split into species instead of resident and non-resident sections. Regulations and policy language has been simplified, and a digital edition is also available with expanded content that's online. The Western Region is promoting fish stocking in the Sparks Marina and other Reno Sparks area fisheries, public outreach messaging, encouraging anglers to fish early and fish often, as continued drought is expected to impact the region's fishable waters. Demand for hunter education is climbing in anticipation of the tag application period. Classes are filling up quickly. Conservation education staff and hunter education volunteers are making classes available to students before the tag application deadline. Trout in the Classroom program is in full swing, and conservation education staff are making classroom visits, dissecting fish, and answering questions. Releases are scheduled for late March. And the last update I have is on the Wildlife Diversity Division. The Diversity Division recently met in Las Vegas for the annual coordination meeting. Staff discussed upcoming goals, programmatic as well as species-specific strategies. On the programmatic side, the Diversity Division goals, employee roles, and responsibilities included team building, coordination, and reporting. Priority species for surveys were discussed for the upcoming field season. Focal species for the upcoming year include northern goshawks, golden eagles, shorebirds, secretive marsh birds, bats, reptiles, shrews, pikas, Columbia spotted frogs, and other ongoing annual species monitoring such as nightjars, burrowing owls, yellow-billed cuckoos, and southwestern willow flycatchers. Diversity biologists presented survey results from the prior year that covered a variety of species, including bats associated with abandoned mine work and white nose syndrome, Lahontan Valley shorebird surveys, pika training survey work, statewide winter raptor surveys, Gila monster transmitter study results, mine claim markers and their continuing toll on native birds, reptiles, and invertebrates, GIS data development of long-term data sets for a variety of species, including winter raptors, Columbia spotted frogs, some golden eagle work, bald eagle work, and lastly, we appointed a new division administrator to replace Laura Richards, who left us recently. We hired Jennifer Newmark. Jennifer has been a division administrator within the Nevada Natural Heritage Program. She's worked for the state of Nevada for 15 years. She's been a division administrator for 7 years. Is very familiar with the state budgeting process and has a very good knowledge base, species-specific knowledge base, as well as the political and ecological environment in which she'll be working. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd entertain any questions on things either I didn't cover or people looking for further information on anything that I mentioned.
Commissioner Young?
Yes, Director Wasley, I'm listening to your description of wardens and the game law enforcement component. based on my background, I'm kind of troubled hearing those numbers, and I imagine you are too. I was wondering if either you or Tyler could give the commission an overview of your thoughts as to why. Is it simply pay? Is there other factors affecting morale? Most typically, people in their early years of their law enforcement career, at least I know, I was telling Grant and Chad at dinner last night, they were asking me some questions about when I first joined the police department, and I told them I'd have done it for free the first 5 years. I didn't like when my shift ended, I hated my days off. And it's really troubling to hear that losing so many officers so early on, and that experience is what makes a law enforcement agency really good. And when you have that many or that high of a percentage of your officers having little or no experience, that's a big problem. We need to fix it, and what do we as a commission need to do to stop the bleeding and help you guys?
I appreciate the question. I'll offer some of my thoughts and perspective on it, and I'm sure the rate at which Tyler ran it to the podium, he has some thoughts and perspective as well.
I like that.
He wasn't nearly as quick with some of the controversial issues yesterday. Just saying.
He knows I'm on his side with this.
You're exactly right. It's a challenge. We don't have a large agency to begin with. We're small across all of our divisions. We have limited resources in all of our divisions. We presently have an agency that has approximately 50% of our employees that have less than 10 years with the agency. This problem with law enforcement retention isn't unique to Nevada either. This is a West-wide problem, and I think there are several reasons underlying the issue. And like you, when I first got my job, I would have done it for free as well. It was not about pay. So although that's certainly a draw now for some of our younger law enforcement people, where they recognize they can make more money elsewhere, the bigger challenge is finding employees that truly want to be a game warden. And there are fewer and fewer individuals out there that want to be a game warden. There's plenty of people who work in law enforcement, and if they can work in law enforcement and make substantially more elsewhere, they'll do that. So the biggest challenge is finding people that want to be an old-fashioned game warden and are content in doing that. It isn't, in my opinion, it isn't as simple as trying to find more financial resources and providing a higher monetary compensation, because that would create other issues within the agency. We have biologists as well that are able to make significantly more money in the private sector working for consultants, but choose to do what they do for their passion and what they choose to do in their personal lives as well. So it is a challenge. I don't know what the commission can do. My concern is that we find some effective ways of increasing our retention. I don't know if those individuals are out there and we're just not finding them, or if we're just unable to keep them. But my concern with putting too much faith in higher compensation, there would be a greater downside. We may keep our 31 field wardens, but the remaining 150 biologists, the fallout from that would have serious ramifications on morale and retention in 6 other divisions. So, I don't know what the answer is, but I would ask Tyler his thoughts as well.
Yeah, Tyler Turnipseed, Chief Game Warden for the record, and I agree with most of what Tony says. Clearly, we're not recruiting the type of people that we had 20 years ago, and I'm like you. When I started, I didn't really care what it paid. I wanted to be a game warden, and thought it was pretty cool that they gave me a truck and sent me out in the mountains, and I could go do that sort of stuff. In recent years, we're clearly not finding those people, and the bulk of the people that I talk to, they're leaving site pay as one of their primary reasons. So hopefully that's getting a little bit better as state budgets improve and you know, maybe getting away from furloughs and pay cuts and that sort of stuff. But you're exactly right. Once we invest a bunch of money in our new trainees, send them to an academy, 4 months of field training, and then specialized training in wildlife field forensics and boat accident reconstruction, all that sort of stuff, our people are extremely valuable to another agency. In the last year, we've lost 2 to Henderson PD, 1 to Washoe County, 1 to Reno, a couple to out of state, and you know, Henderson PD's not even shy about it. They'll tell us right to our face, yes, we will recruit your employees, and we can afford to steal them. You know, the bigger problem of finding those applicants who want to be a game warden and not a Henderson police officer are tough. I'm not sure I know the answer to all those questions, but yeah, I sat down the other day and came up with a list of people that had quit to go to another agency or another entity in the last 5 or 6 years since furlough started and all that sort of stuff, and it was either 19 or 20. I couldn't come up with a quit date on one of them. So those 19 people had left in their first 5 years of employment. So we had invested a ton in those people, and then so we just went through this hiring process last year that I told you guys about. Attempted to hire 10, was actually able to get 8 on board. They're in the academies right now. Just learned here in the last week or 2 that I'll be losing 4 more. So I'm not sure how to stop that bleeding. I'm not sure if the appetite is there, you know, at the legislative level or you know, up the chain of that sort of stuff, or increased pay or benefits or that sort of stuff. Just that when you factor in the pay and you know, state employees paying our own PERS versus the county sheriff's office that doesn't pay their PERS allotment, we're not competing. So clearly we need to find the applicants that want to do this job. Beyond that, I'm not sure what's in my power to fix the problem.
Well, I would offer this, you know, I've been around law enforcement for a lot of years, and I saw my agency, Metro PD, go through many of these challenges in a bigger arena, of course, but one of the things we were proud of at Metro, and I could clearly hear the issue with Henderson PD, and I understand it, and shame on them. You know, Metro PD, everybody wants to be on Metro PD down there, and the people that don't make Metro join Henderson PD. They're a second tier wannabe police department in many ways, with unsteady leadership and chiefs turning over all the time. The new one, Pat Moores, I'm going to have lunch with him pretty quick, and I certainly am going to express my opinion as a wildlife commissioner about that issue. You know, the thing that Metro does to discourage that is we used to do the academy for all those agencies. We stopped having them come to our academy because they quit right in the middle of the academy or attempt to join Metro because of the professionalism and the variety of opportunities on Metro. I'm telling these guys, I had SWAT to flying helicopters to being a detective. You know, there's not that many police agencies in Nevada that give you that. But the other thing is Metro makes every new hire, no matter what their background, go through our entire academy, which is 6 months long, and it's tough and it's hard, and it prevents a lot of that, trying to just simply switching over. I think there's some ways to mitigate this, and some of it may be personal one-on-one communication with some of the people in Henderson or other places, because it's a tremendous loss to you guys. While 2 officers doesn't seem like a heck of a lot, it's a tremendous amount when you got 31 or 32 or 33. Pay is only part of it. On the flip side, I was at the WAFA meeting, I was talking to one of the guys there from law enforcement and asked flat out how many law enforcement wardens they had in Wyoming. They only have 33 for the entire state. Difference being is they keep them for a longer period of time, and they have a little better success. And I know, Tony, it is a Western problem. It's all over. It's a different breed of person out there now wanting to join law enforcement than there was when I joined in 1978. And they've seen too much special tactical units and this and that and the other thing, and too much on television and in the movies, and a lot of young people have lost the flavor for old-fashioned, as Tony described it accurately, community-oriented policing, or working in a smaller community, or working out in the wild. But they're out there. I think it's a matter of recruiting and finding where those folks are and targeting recruiting, and it may take going all around the United States. I know when Metro, while I was sheriff, Las Vegas was on steroids. We couldn't hire enough people to keep up with the growth. We developed recruiting teams, 3 or 4 of them, that went to colleges around the United States, and it was an active, constant process of trying to get people that were qualified to take our test and consider moving to Las Vegas, because we were hundreds of officers short, in developing a recruiting program specific to the new generation. Another thing that, it left law enforcement and is now coming back. Even Metro is reconstituting a reserve officer program. I know I briefly mentioned this to you. There are a lot of old-time retired guys that still have a couple of years left in them. I'm not saying I'm one of them, that do get this, that you can use as an augmentation to your team with a little bit of cross-training or working with an experienced or seasoned officer. And I can only tell you that you put a 2-year game warden that knows something about biology with a retired 30-year police officer from a big city police department, or even a small police department that loves to hunt and fish and is willing to dedicate 1 or 2 weekends a month or during a busy season to work with in the vehicle, or actually patrol on their own with close supervision, in some cases, can make a heck of a difference for you, particularly when they have already post-certification in that state or in Nevada. They know what they're doing. They may live in the area, or they've retired to the area. A lot of Metro police officers retired to Lincoln County, Washoe County, and so on and so forth, Douglas County. And I can imagine there'd be some interest in doing something like that. So all I can do is I'd be happy to help you, Tyler, or work with you, or get you in touch with anybody at Metro in particular that could help you with a lot of these things. I know that we talked about the reserve officer I did with Rob, and we didn't get there with Doug Gillespie, but Joe Lombardo, the new sheriff, I know would be amenable to having current Metro resident officers work closer or more frequently with your guys, riding together, or training together, or spending a little bit more time together, which might get a little bit more enthusiasm for some of the younger troops coming on your agency, and at the same time guarantee that he's not going to try to steal them. He won't let that happen. So anyone want to talk anytime about it, Tyler, I'm happy to.
Great, I certainly appreciate that, Commissioner Young, and you're right. I've actually, as a Band-Aid, to sort of plug in some of the holes, been looking at seasonal positions, reserve positions, that sort of stuff. I had a seasonal job announcement just came out Friday for a seasonal warden, one at Tahoe, one down south at Meade, and then here in another month or two we'll announce another one in Elko to work the fall months. And as you said, sort of targeting that recently retired applicant who's got post and is looking for something more part-time or part of the year.
Is Jim Gunn still working with you guys up there in Lake Tahoe?
That's actually whose position we just announced. He found a different gig, parking boats for a private.
I'm gonna have to get on with him, because him and I were seasonal rangers for the state. Well, he was a real full-time ranger. I was a seasonal ranger before I joined the police department in the 70s up in Red Rock. But he's a great example of a very experienced law enforcement guy that would, you can put him out there and get a job done. And I know Jim has done quite a job there, because he was a law enforcement specialist with state parks and worked in Lake Tahoe.
Exactly. Yeah, and I was disappointed to see him leave our seasonal program, but that's his job just opened up in the Tahoe area, and he's actually been out sort of recruiting for us, trying to find some people to fill that spot. And then may look at the reserve option as well. I'll reach out to you for help on that. And yeah, as far as long term, You know, I think those are some pretty good Band-Aids and may help us in long-term fix as well. You know, it's hard to sugarcoat it and say that it's about a lot more than just pay, but like you said, the applicants nowadays seem to be a little bit different than when I started. Certainly want to know what the days off are and what the pay schedule looks like. And knock on wood, we've been lucky to get some very good people, but just hard to keep it up. Like I said, pay issues, you know, we actually start them at a grade 32. NHP starts their people at a grade 36 without the education requirement.
What's the pay rate, just so I know, the range?
We start them at a 32, and then a field warden that's
Is that 32,000?
no, a grade 32 in the state scale system. I'm not sure what that salary would work out to be, but depending on retirement options, I would say 35 to 40,000. And then after a few years, they become a game warden 3. That puts them at a grade 37, I believe, which in that realm they would top out somewhere around 60,000, something like that.
And that's 25, 30,000, or 40,000 below what a Metro police officer would top out, just an officer position without a college degree. And there's a big part of your challenge. It's big cities, local departments have traditionally always paid more than the state law enforcement positions. And, you know, NHP chronically complained about their officers going to Metro or some other big agency, and your officers are going to NHP in some cases, so that just tells you how low the pay is for NDOW.
Yes, to have to compete. That one of the gentlemen that left to go to Henderson PD in this last year actually had a degree in biology and a master's in wildlife ecology type subjects. So some of those really surprised me that you know, you assume you've got someone who's really geared towards the wildlife end of things and still not using them. So I'd be open to any suggestions from anyone in the room as to how to fix this problem, but I'll keep working on it. Thank you.
Additional questions for Director Wasley? The department activity report. Okay. Seeing none, we'll close agenda item number 20E and move to agenda item 20F. Again, report informational. This is the litigation report. Deputy Attorney General Harry Ward. Mr. Ward.
Good morning. May it please, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, Harry Ward, for the record, Deputy Attorney General. I have nothing further to report in regards to the litigation report that I submitted.
Okay. I think everyone's got the written litigation report in their packet marked 20F. Are there any questions or comments from the commission at this time? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close agenda item 20F and move to agenda item 21. This is appeal by Mr. Fred Anderson for possible action. Mr. Fred Anderson is requesting reinstatement of bonus points from the Desert Bighorn sheep hunt. Mr. Ward, before we get into this, could you please brief us as to how to proceed and what our authorities may or may not be in this case?
Thank you once again, Harry Ward, Deputy Attorney General. Good morning. Procedurally, I would ask this commission to, I guess, since it is set for a hearing, as per my request or instruction, to listen to the arguments of me, listen to the arguments of maybe Mr. Anderson in regards to jurisdiction. I had this put on the docket because under the MAC, he requested a hearing using a form requesting a hearing. You'll hear arguments from me, just brief arguments that this commission does not have the authority or jurisdiction to hear such a case. Procedurally, then I would, submit that Mr. Anderson could get up here and argue this case. In the event that, not argue his case, but argue the case that this commission has jurisdiction. In the event that this commission believes it does have jurisdiction, I would request a hearing so this commission can have an additional DAG to give it legal advice at a hearing. It would be improper for me to advise this commission wearing two hats, one prosecuting the case and or wearing the hat to advise the commission on what they can or cannot do during the hearing. So in a nutshell, what I would like to do is start my argument that this commission does not have jurisdiction or authority to hear a hearing on a request for tags. May I proceed?
Yes, please.
Once again, this is on the docket. I believe it's number 21, appeal from Mr. Fred Anderson. Mr. Fred Anderson submitted a request for a hearing on a form, and I believe you might have it, and I'll go ahead and read it. It's the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners request for hearing form. It says to be completed by person requesting hearing, returned to the Secretary of Commission and Director of NDOW. The name was Fred Anderson, gave his address. On the form it says reason the license or permit was denied, revoked, or suspended, semicolon. And then he writes in his handwriting, I presume it's his handwriting. I would like to get my Desert Sheep Bighorn points reinstated, or at least be able to start reapplying next year. And then you get back to the form. Brief statement supporting position of party requesting hearing, colon. That was on the form. I had drawn my 4 Nevada tags before, for myself, 4 other tags I was associated with. The confirmation email was sent to spam. I did not open my mail. I run a drilling business that requires 8 to 20 hours. Please hear my case. Now, this was submitted on a form for a request for hearing. Now, when I put on my prosecutor's hat, I don't want to be caught in a position that, while I didn't prosecute the case last year, but the issue did come up where under NAC 501.150, that the commission, part 3, will include a hearing on the agenda of the next regularly scheduled meeting of the commission. As you may recall, there was a case, I think it was almost a year ago, last March, that this issue came up. So when this was sent to me, as per my request, I asked the department to put it on the agenda. Now my argument is, once it's on the agenda, there is no jurisdiction, excuse me, by this commission to hear this. And as I start, it says NAC 501.14 applicability, and this is where the word jurisdiction comes in. The provisions of NAC 501.140, which is practice and procedures before the Board of Wildlife Commissions on hearings, to 501.190, inclusive, apply to any matter that is within the jurisdiction of the commission. Then we go on to NAC 501.150, request for hearing concerning denial, revocation, or suspension of license or permit, time and notice of hearing, stay of decision department. And number 1, this is where I argue is very important. A person who is aggrieved by decision of the department must submit a written request for a hearing before the commission within 30 days after the person receives a notice from the department pursuant to subsection 3 of NRS 233D127, that's basically a procedural item, that his or her license or permit will be denied, revoked, or suspended. His request for a hearing is not for a license or permit to be denied, revoked, or suspended. His request is for, I would like to get my Desert Sheep Bighorn points reinstated, or at least be able to start reapplying next year. This is not a suspension of license. He's asking for, I just cited. Once again, I instructed or asked the department to put this on the agenda only because it was on this form. Had this been in the letter requesting these points, I would have probably instructed the department, don't put this on the agenda. Now, what does that do? That gives Mr. Anderson the opportunity, based on this commission's decision, to appeal it to the district court. I'm not worried about that. I've dealt with the appeals, even though I didn't prosecute cases in the past year, but I will deal with any appeal to the district court concerning your decision. Now, under NAC 501.165, hearing de novo, at a hearing conducted pursuant to NRS 501.1816, and then you go down to section B, it says consider only allegations of procedural error. And that was my concern. Once someone submits a request for a hearing, I want it to be put on the next agenda, and I don't want it to be dismissed because of a procedural error. And that's just me as a prosecutor. I don't want to lose a case because of a procedural error or some sort of reason it slipped through the cracks. So that is why this is on the agenda. Procedurally, I guess if Mr. Anderson is here, I would like him to come up to the podium, or at least give him an opportunity to address this commission as to why he thinks this commission has the authority or jurisdiction to make a determination on the tags. Mr. Anderson, are you here?
So before we do that, Mr. Ward, could I ask a question of you?
Sure. I mean, you're I guess, one of the judges in this matter at this field, so yes.
So under NAC 501-150, it talks about a person who is aggrieved by the decision of the department must submit a written request for hearing before the commission within 30 days after the person receives a notice from the department pursuant to subsection 3. Was there ever a notice issued?
No. So there was no notice issued that there was a decision concerning his request for, let's say, the reinstatement of his points. Or there was no notice that one, obviously, a license or a permit was denied or revoked or anything like that. So none of that applied.
Any other questions of Dax before we ask Mr. Anderson to come up? Okay, Mr. Anderson, please feel free to address the commission, understanding that it sounds like our hands are essentially tied in this matter.
Well, thank you for giving me a chance. I guess the reason why I think that I'm maybe entitled to get my points back is I'm 57 years old and I'm 10 years before I can reapply. I hate even thinking of that thought. And I understand that that there's procedure of which I'm in the well drilling business, and this is all new to me, so I'm fairly nervous here, you guys. So you got to bear with me just a little bit. Once I found out that I had a tag, it was a month later. It was a culmination of weird circumstances that even brought it to my attention. I had seen it after a deer hunt, which was one of the hunts that I had with my sons in October. I was filling out my questionnaire, and I seen on my questionnaire portion of the tags that I had a Nevada Desert Bighorn sheep tag, and I said, I didn't get that. And so I went back and I did all the research that I thought I had to do, and I realized that ignorance is no excuse for breaking the law, but I don't know what it comes to when you don't know if you're within the law. And so I went all through the book. I didn't even think about alternate tags, even though I had checked that box, and the area that I got a tag for was actually a mistake. That's some of the weird events that happened here. I was actually wanting to hunt in an area that I was marking, that I thought was above that. But putting all that aside, because I could go on for 20 minutes as to why I didn't realize that I had a tag. But on October 21st, I made a telephone call. It lasted 1 minute and 18 seconds to the Fallon office. I was in between a deer hunt, and I had my Rocky Mountain big hunt that I was heading to. And when I called the number, I asked, and I may have stolen it, because is this a mistake? I believe it's a mistake. I've been back through all my stuff. I don't have a Desert Bighorn sheep tag. I gave the lady my information, and she was going to get back with me, and I was good with that. I walked out of there and finished packing for my sheep hunt. I left back onto that next morning. I was preoccupied with that, and then being 57, I believe that I'm too busy. I have a ton of dementia. Hold on, anyhow. And I didn't even think about this tag again until I was hunting my cow elk tag. I had successfully gotten that. I came home and went to fill that questionnaire out, but it's still there. And I'm, what is this thing? So I believe that I did. I searched the internet. I went through this book. This book doesn't tell you anything about alternate tags that I can find in it. In the culmination of the events that came up to this, everybody makes mistakes. I'm trying to become a master guide in the state of that. This does not help that. I mean, it really makes it look like you're a buffoon. And I have to own that. And I hate owning that, but in the process of getting the Master Guide's stuff back through a mail error that could have occurred through my office, and I'm not blaming anybody on any of this, I bear the brunt of most of this. It's just that I made that telephone call, and nobody ever got back with me. Whether they tried to get back with me and I was gone on my sheep hunt, it just never got relayed to me. I don't open my mail at the business. My wife thought that that tag, when it came in, because I do have the tag, in July, when it came in, she thought it was my Rocky Mountain tag and just stuck it in a file, knowing that I would use it when that tag came available to use. But,
Yes, I have a, like, so,
Commissioner Johnson.
so the actual desert tag arrived, you received it.
I have to admit to that. I can't say that it didn't come in. I have to admit it.
But you are blaming your wife. I've done that.
I have, when my wife in January, my wife handed me, she said, well, I go, I just can't figure out what this is. And it's a Friday afternoon. I've talked to Tyler, or no, I have not talked to Tyler yet. And I don't know what this is. And I got to get it taken care of. I can't say that I've hunted when I don't have a tag because they'll take my points away. Well, let's look in the file, she says. When we looked in that file and she handed me that tag, there was 16 years of points that had just gone out the window, and the temptation to grab my wife by the throat was terrible.
That won't help the situation.
I know, it doesn't help the situation. That's, and whatever this commission believes, if I'm not entitled to it, I'm not. I'll go on. That's all I can do. I mean, I hate having to accept this. I do. I have a little. Let me grab this. I have a ton of friends. I went to a wrestling meet, and I got this in front of.
Mr. Anderson, please come up to the mic and address the commission.
I got this in front of a crowd, an auditorium full of wrestlers. I think I'm pretty tough. This took all of the strength. I wanted to faint. I mean, I'm not kidding you. And all I can do is accept it. I'll probably put it with my tag and
I can completely sympathize with your situation. The problem that I've got today is I don't see how your request for a hearing meets the intent of NAC 501-150. And I'll look to the end of the table for Mr. Johnston, but it's very specific to denial, revocation, and suspension of a license or permit. It's completely silent on bonus points. And so, again, I completely sympathize with your situation, but I don't think there's anything this commission can do at this point to alleviate the situation, particularly through the hearing as outlined in the laws and regulations we have to follow. That's kind of where we're at. And I don't believe there's any other recourse that I know of or I'm aware of that this commission can take. So it's not a matter of not hearing and being sympathetic to your position. It's simply that I don't believe this commission has the authority to do what you're asking it to do.
so I guess I would rebut that in the sense that that 2 days after the guide tag questionnaires were supposed to be filled out, I was really under the impression that I would get a phone call. I have plenty of friends in Winnemucca who they drew alternate tags in the last year or so, and they get a telephone call. So 2 days after this questionnaire is supposed to be filled out, I started getting telephone calls, and I got those calls, and I tried returning those calls for the next week and a half, until I finally got a hold of Julie, and I can't remember her name, with Endow, and she just wanted my $50 because I was in violation of not filling that out. So if they would have made one phone call to me, you guys put the burden of me proving, and that is one of the problems. Let me digress here just for 1 second. That's one of the problems in my Master Guides license, is I sent my secretary that's no longer with me to town with certified mail to go to NDOW, so that I was in the time frame to get my Master Guides license. Well, you guys never got it, and I can't find the certification there in my office, and I've tore that office apart. By the same token, even, I know I got the tag. I didn't see the tag, and so that may be the reason why you guys don't have to do anything with it. And I know that it sets a precedence if you just do it on pure sympathy. I understand all that, but I truly did not know. If I would have known I had this tag, if I would not have tried to call NDOW on this tag, I would walk away from here and say, "Poof, yeah."
And I don't think it's a matter of we don't have to do anything. I think it's a matter of we can't do anything unless I'm completely remiss in missing something. We do not have the authority to provide the relief you're looking for. And we can't make up our rules and laws that govern this body as we go along. So it's not that we're electing not to do something. It's the simple fact that I don't believe in this case we can provide the relief you're looking for. You understand where I'm coming from?
Oh, yeah, no. And that's the answer I've been afraid to hear for a month now. But I'll accept it if I have to.
Any questions or comments by the commission? Mr. Anderson, any other statements at this time?
No, not unless this begging and groveling do any good.
At this point, I don't think you have to, but like I said, I'm sympathetic to what you're asking for. I understand where you're coming from. It's just simply not, it's trying to put a square peg in a round hole.
I'm in the drilling business, I can do that.
That's probably
One point of advice, I'd lighten up on the wife too. Sounds like you had a lot of tags going on there.
The burden of all this is squarely on my shoulders. Thank you, gentlemen.
Sorry, thank you.
Mr. Ward, procedurally, what does this commission need to do to?
If you may please, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, procedurally, may I suggest that action be taken so in the event that Mr. Anderson wants to appeal the decision, and I would suggest that you make a motion whether you do have jurisdiction or whether you don't have jurisdiction, and if you do feel you do have jurisdiction to hear this matter, you continue it so you can get another DAG to, I guess, advise the commission, and I would be prosecuting the case. So procedurally, you can make a motion, and this gives, I guess, Mr. Anderson the opportunity to appeal that decision, since it is set for a hearing. Or you could take no action. That's another option. I think theoretically he could appeal the fact that you took no action. When I say appeal, we're talking about going to the district court.
I guess I would be open to listen what the other commissioners thought, but my inclination at this point is to take no action. Because I simply don't know that we have authority at all in this matter.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would make one comment on that. I don't believe NAC 501-140 and the following provisions apply for a hearing. I do know, however, that other people have petitioned the TAC committee for circumstances where I believe, I don't remember if it was road closures or something occurred on the Sheldon, and people asked for reinstatement of bonus points because they didn't turn in their tag. The TAC committee did entertain that, but rejected the request. I think it was brought to this commission. My view would be to say that we don't have jurisdiction under 501-140 of the Administrative Code to have a hearing on this. But even if there was a general ability of this commission to entertain this request, that it would be denied on the merits, that I sympathize with the situation. But the TAC committee and in other instances have said, look, if you start reinstating bonus points, or when people don't turn the tag in prior to the hunting season, where does that go? There are other administrative code provisions that talk about if you successfully draw a tag, you lose your bonus points. There's provisions by which you have to return the tag. And I really sympathize with Mr. Anderson, but once it was confirmed that the actual tag arrived, I think it was incumbent upon him. I understand mistakes happen. This is a severe penalty for a mistake. But I just don't see how we can say, got it in the mail, but you didn't realize what you got, so we're gonna reinstate your bonus points. I don't think we can do that.
Additional commission comment at this time? This is an action item. Dag Ward, should I open it for public comment, given that we're not within a formal hearing in one sense?
If you do, Mr. Chairman, you might want to do that maybe, it's up to you. Since it is for, or designated as for for possible action, and it has been the procedure to open up for public comment, I think you probably should, because I would not like to entertain a complaint, an open meeting law violation on this, that public comment is not allowed on this actionable item. So my suggestion would be, in abundance of caution, yes.
Is there public comment on item 21 in Reno? Public comment on item 21 in Las Vegas? Public comment on item 21 in Elko?
No comment.
Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. As I suggested, unless someone has an inclination to make a motion at this time, I would simply be more comfortable with taking no action. Any appetite for any other recourse or motion? Hearing none, we'll close.
I don't know if taking no action is the right way to go about this. I think Mr. Anderson at least deserves some sort of answer from this commission as to what we're doing. I mean, he is, the form he pulled out may not apply. We may not have jurisdiction, but I believe Mr. Anderson came to this commission, asked for relief. We don't feel we can give it. We need to give him an answer. And I think not taking action is insufficient.
At that point, I would entertain a motion.
As I said, I very much sympathize with Mr. Anderson's situation. I really do. But I do believe this commission's hands are tied. And I look to see what our authority is and what the rules are. And that's what I think we have to follow. And with that being, I would move that that the request for hearing be denied on the grounds that this commission does not have jurisdiction to entertain a request for reinstatement of bonus points or to be eligible for the main draw of where the person did in fact receive their tag. And then even if we did have the jurisdiction to entertain such a request, but on the facts presented, the relief being requested is not warranted.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second not to entertain a hearing, in short. Is there any question or discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Mr. Anderson, I appreciate your time today. With that, we'll move to agenda item number 22, the 2016-2017 Commission meeting schedule. Secretary Wadsley for possible action. The Commission may take action to approve the schedule of meetings and locations for the calendar years 2016 and 2017. The proposed schedule and locations have been provided in the support material.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is one change I would like to propose, bring to the attention of the Commission. Presently, the federal framework, the timing of the regulatory cycle that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service uses to set migratory waterfowl seasons can be accommodated through the August meetings, where historically in August, we have set and revised waterfowl season and limits. That federal framework, the timing of that regulatory cycle is being changed. State input will now be due at the end of April, April 30th. I would like for the commission to consider moving that from the August meeting to the March meeting for 2016 and 2017 as well. I believe that new framework will be a biennial process. I believe that it will be set for 2 years at a time. However, there may be some fine tuning that needs to occur like that, which we do for our own season dates and times. Other than that, we support the recommended season dates as proposed.
That was for years.
Yes, please.
The only other item that I would address is in August of 2016, we have an item on there that says Commission Cab Retreat. What I'm trying to get at with this, and this was my recommendation, and I think maybe Commission Cab Workshop would be a better terminology to use there, but coming out of a legislative year, oftentimes we're directed to work on some regulations or to look at different things from the legislature. I know the cabs have certain activities and ideas and things they want to do over the next year. I think it would be good to have a discussion amongst the commission, the county advisory boards, and any of the public in terms of what our priorities and issues we need to look at over the next year are. So I guess I would advocate for maybe relabeling that Commission Cab Workshop, but leaving it in and making it more of a collaborative discussion on priorities and things that need to be addressed going forward so that everyone has a clear understanding. I think it gets a little bit to Clark's request at the last meeting to have some better description on our meeting dates, and maybe with that coming out of the legislature and looking at that, we can do that and have a little better sense of what we've got coming up over the next 12 months. So that was my intent in requesting that. Like I said, the wording that came from me is probably not completely accurate in what should be portrayed there. So other than that, I'm comfortable with the meeting dates and locations. Is there any other commission question or comment?
Mr. Chairman, maybe this is the right part of the meeting, but I just, one request I'd have, and this is really speaking for myself, I hadn't really had a chance to talk to Paul or Karen about it, but on the meetings that are in Reno, and the majority of the meetings are in Reno, for the Las Vegas people, unless there's a need to be in Reno the night before, I would ask that we start the meetings at 10 a.m. The reason I'm asking that is that the extra night to be at home or, not have to be at the hotel, just to start the meeting at 8:30 is just something I'd like to see, It saves the department a little bit of money, and we can jump on that 7 a.m. flight easily and get up here and start the meeting at 10. And it's like, not all of them do we have this, we get done at noon. It's a rarity, or before noon, maybe balance it out a little bit better. I don't know if that'd be an imposition on anybody else, and I certainly wouldn't want to make it an imposition on anybody, but that extra hour and a half that we could fly up that morning sure be nice.
Yeah, and I don't know that
Sleep in our
we'll,
own bed.
completely understood, and I don't know that we'll address it on the schedule itself, but it's something that I will definitely take into consideration when we set the agendas.
When we can,
Right.
like,
Absolutely.
it doesn't happen all the time, or you're not on a committee that has to be there, at least you have the option.
Right.
Thanks.
Point well taken. Okay. Other questions or comments on either of the proposed schedules for 16 or 17? Okay. Seeing none, this is an action item. County Advisory Boards, any input on the schedules? Item number 22. Come on up if you have comments.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, Juliana Carson, Advisory Board. Just to clarify the changes that you made, you indicated that the subject of the March 25th and 26th meeting is going to be revised, set up currently for August. Is that correct? will you also change the location of that meeting? Because usually the waterfowl meeting takes place in Fallon historically.
Point.
That may make it even more difficult, or what, as far as timing to get to Fallon by, in order to start the meeting in time if you're gonna fly up that morning.
Started at noon, I think, before even kill one time, get Fallon or a little bit later, so we could drive over, but that one may be that we have to come the night before, because that's late to start a meeting. If we're having it in Fallon, we'd have to come tonight.
Gil, we've got that question, so let's take the rest of the comment and we'll address that.
Okay, then what, the subject of the August meeting, have you decided what we're normally gonna do in August? I mean, what I'm looking at is trying to get that spreadsheet set up for where we're gonna be and the dates. Subject matter is entirely up to the chairman and the board. I'm just trying to get the location so that we can get that spreadsheet set up and sent out. And we always try to figure out the mileage for the various cabs to make life easier for them.
Understood. And we'll take that into consideration when we bring it back up. So thank you for bringing those points. Glenn, come on up.
Glenn Bunch, Mineral County. If the Senate bill doesn't change the makeup of the advisory boards to where it's one board for the whole state, I appreciate the fact that you moved the May meeting off of the third weekend back to the second weekend. As I've stated to a couple of the people here, in Mineral County, in Hawthorne, we celebrate armed forces, and that's the third weekend in May. And it's a big to-do. I will not be able to be here next month. No one from my board will attend. It's a major thing. Things starts happening in Hawthorne on Monday of that week, and it runs all the way till Sunday about noon. And in my position with search and rescue, we do crowd control, traffic control for the whole week. And so, as bad as we'd like to be here because it's quota setting, we're gonna have to bite the bullet and miss it. So I really appreciate the fact that you moved it back to the second, and I hope it doesn't change again. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional cab comment? Public comment in Reno? Public comment in Las Vegas? Public comment in
No.
Elko?
Are we at public?
Oh, no.
No comment in Vegas.
Okay, we're on 22, the 16-17 schedule. Elko, any public comment?
No comment.
Okay, bring it back to the board. So Director Wasley, I guess my question is, the main item that we wanted to move to March was set revising waterfowl seasons and limits. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chairman Drew, and the thought, I mean, in the non-legislative years, the March meeting has been the cab workshop, and the August meeting has been waterfowl seasons and limits. So in a non-legislative year, switching those two seems to make sense. It may leave some question in the legislative year, what we do in that August meeting.
My guess is we'll probably have things to do, and I would say that the commission and cab workshop is something we should probably look at annually. And to me, August may make a little bit more sense because you're coming out of a legislative.
I agree. I like the idea of doing that annually and making that change to accommodate the season setting framework. The federal framework would allow us to engage with cabs on an annual basis.
So then the next question becomes, if we're going to move setting and revising the waterfowl seasons and limits to March, do we want to switch out some of the locations? I know in the past that we've tried to set those or have those meetings in Fallon or another area where there's some interest, high interest in waterfowl. I think that's why August was always kind of a Fallon meeting, or I think Arrington would probably be another good waterfowl venue, but should we, I guess, maybe some input from the director and then discussion by the commission on whether we want to switch any of those locations for those meetings?
Yeah, I don't know that the department has a strong feeling on that. I don't, without talking with staff and looking at cost considerations or opportunity for public input, I don't know that we're prepared to make any particular recommendation for those locations, and we'd be willing to accept what the commission determines.
Okay. Commission question or discussion on those items?
Yes, it makes sense, Chairman. You know, the waterfowl meeting has historically been in Fallon. Subject matter's getting moved to March, that you just flip-flop the locations, so that the 2016 March meeting would be where the waterfowl season would be in Yerington. The August meeting with the cab workshop could then be in Reno. And then in 2017, the March meeting would be in Fallon, legislative items and the waterfowl seasons, with the August meeting then being in Las Vegas for the cab workshop.
Was there a reason why why we're rotating the late January, early February meeting between Reno and Las Vegas? So in 2016, we have Las Vegas. In 2017, it's in Reno.
Season setting, that, so people flying down to Vegas, remember?
What, it was problematic to go down?
Well, before, like, cost-wise.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I believe the logic behind that recommendation had to do with the efficiencies of travel, and that content of that meeting requires significant staff participation in the big game season and regulation process. And the thought was we have less staff participation in that March meeting, and it could be a cost savings.
Okay, so should we make that similar accommodation for 2016?
They set them for 2 years, so it's
They're
expensive.
set for 2 years, so the 16 would be a smaller effort.
Chairman,
Commissioner Young?
I just gotta throw this out there to fairly represent people in Southern Nevada. You know, I'm looking at this 17 schedule. Believe me, I get the cost, but, you know, 75% of the population in this state lives in my county. I'm looking at these meetings, and there's February 11th, Reno, April, Reno, May, Reno, June, Minden. That's Reno as far as I'm concerned, because it's a drive.
Whoa.
Fallon,
Yeah, right, whoa.
Fallon that I lived in till I was 9 years old was a drive. That's Reno. One more in Vegas, back in Reno. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in Reno, or within an hour drive of Reno, and 2 in the southern part of the state. And all I can say is that seems to be a little bit of an imbalance. You folks may disagree with me, and you have that right. But I know myself, Mr. Valentine and Jim, we represent other parts of the state, and I'd like to see whether we go to Caliente or, you know, Ely or somewhere else, a little bit more southern, or Eureka, which is more the state. Happy I can drive to. I suggest we look at some options, because it just seems a little unfair there, imbalanced that particular year.
Other discussions?
Chairman, the pool guy over here, he's not too happy about being in Las Vegas in August in 2017 either.
I'd rather be in Elko.
There you go.
So what if we what if we were to do, just for talking purposes, in 16, the March meeting date would be Yerington. And then I guess the August 12th meeting date would either be Reno or Southern Nevada.
The August, did you say?
Yeah. Do we want to just switch Reno and Yerington in 16 to make it clean? Then we have
Yeah.
2 Las Vegas meetings in 16.
I don't really want to be in Vegas in August, I'll admit that too.
I recognize that.
I want the best of everything, huh?
I recognize the errors of my way there. So the other one would be, so I guess my thought in 2017 is if we set waterfowl seasons in Las Vegas one year, it's not going to be the end of the world. There's folks that hunt waterfowl down there, so let's leave maybe.
Have it out in Overton, or up the valley area.
Okay. So maybe just say Southern Nevada for March of 17. And then to be honest, I would love to have a meeting in Minden, but it doesn't have to be in June. It doesn't have to be backed up against Fallon. So I don't know if we want to plug in a Las Vegas meeting that June, or if that causes staff trouble to do that, to look at moving that June meeting somewhere else. Perhaps Las Vegas.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I don't know that it causes trouble. We try to reach out to folks around the state, it's been a while since we've been in Elko, and that was I guess the thought behind putting Elko on this schedule. It's been a little while since we've been up there, so. You know, there's always logistics wherever we go.
So in 17, what if we did June as Las Vegas? Maybe we do August as Minden. That way we don't have back-to-back-to-back North meet.
August and Ely, you said?
August the 17th, Minden. So what I'm looking at this point is 2016, we'd go Las Vegas, Yerington, and that would be to set revised waterfowl seasons and limits. Reno, Elko, Reno, that'd be the commission cab workshop, Las Vegas, and Reno. In 2017, we'd be February in Reno, March in Southern Nevada. The April meeting's telephonic, it's listed as Reno. May would be Reno, June would be Las Vegas, August would be Minden, September would be Las Vegas, November would be Reno. And again, our March meeting would be set revised waterfowl seasons and limits. And the August meeting would be commission cab workshop.
Is that a motion?
I just want to make sure we don't have any logistical
Yeah,
wipeouts.
Mr. Chairman, there may be some concern around the idea of being in Las Vegas during that legislative year, which is, as it was proposed, actually, March 25th, 2617 in Las Vegas. It just may hinder our ability to accommodate committee meetings on that Thursday evening, if they're.
If we switch to May, let's switch to one on.
not a deal breaker, just want to make you aware of them.
Okay. And the way we've been doing it, we've actually been having those legislative committee meetings a couple weeks before, so I think the only committee that we might have an issue with there is the Predator Committee, just thinking on what we had this time, so.
And we have been able to have some of those meetings in advance, same day, but in advance of the full commission, so.
Okay. So we'll give it a try, and if something pops up, we can revise this, but I would move that we adopt the proposed 2016 meeting schedule with the following changes, that the March 2016 meeting be held in Yerington, and that the agenda would include set revised waterfowl seasons and limits. The August meeting would be changed from Yerington to Reno, and that content would be commission cab workshop. For 2017, the March meeting would be listed as Southern Nevada. It would include legislative items as well as set and revised waterfowl seasons and limits. The June 23rd, 24th meeting would be Las Vegas. The August 17 meeting would be Minden, and that would be commission cab workshop.
I'll second that.
All their dates and times would be the same as proposed. So we've got a motion and a second. Is there any question or discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We'll close agenda item 22 and go to agenda item number 23, future commission meetings and commission committee assignments. Secretary Wasley for possible action. The next commission meeting is scheduled for May 15, 16, 2015 in Reno, and the commission will review and discuss potential agenda items for that meeting. The commission may change the time and meeting locations at this time. Chairman may designate and adjust committee assignments as necessary at this meeting. Director Wasley.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, on the April meeting, there will be a commission's legislative committee will meet April 1st, and there will be a commission meeting on April 15th, telephonic, to discuss legislative matters. Then the May commission meeting will be May 15th and 16th. The items I have for that agenda include CGR 456 T15, which is the elk arbitration process, CGR 457 T15, which is the incentive tag formula, predator plan presentation, and the Humboldt County elk planning process. And the primary item on that agenda would be quota recommendations and big game status reports from the department for determination of quotas by the commission.
And just to add to that, those are the ones that I had. Under the elk arbitration, we have both the NAC that would be up for approval at the workshop this time, and also the approval of the process. To be clear, on April 15th, as far as the telephonic meeting, I don't think we've set a time on that, but we will need to do that soon. And just to make it clear, my understanding is that we'll have the Reno Endell office open, the Elko Endell office open, and Las Vegas open for commissioners and public and county advisory boards to attend those three locations. Outside of that, I didn't have anything in regards to designations or adjustments to committees at this time, and I didn't have anything further. Are there any questions or discussion by the commission? Okay, seeing none, this is a possible action item, so I'll take it out to either county advisory board or public comment in Reno on item 23. Hearing none, Las Vegas. Item 23, any comment?
No comment.
Okay, Elko?
No comment, thank you.
Okay. I don't believe we need any formal action at this time. Director Wasley, was there anything else you had to add on 23?
No, Mr. Chairman, that's it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll close item 23. We'll go to item number 24, public comment period. Persons wishing to speak are requested to complete a speaker's card and present it to the recording secretary. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. No action can be taken by the commission at this time. Any item requiring commission action may be scheduled on a future commission agenda. Public comment in Reno. Come on up, Joel.
For the record, Joel Blakeslee. Larry Johnson asked me to say that he has been in communication with Barrick Mines on the Bald Mountain deer corridors. And they've, as was mentioned earlier, they've changed their people up there, and they're very amenable to talking about solving the problems that we need to on that migratory area. So the coalition will be involved in that quite a bit. So thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comment in Reno? You almost got a public comment. Seeing none, public comment in Las Vegas?
This is Stephanie Myers from Lee Canyon, Mount Charleston. You often ask for reporting from the county advisory boards, and that is their function, to report to you what's happening at the CAB meetings. I'm disturbed, though, that we often seem to not quite get what is the CAB vote and what is the personal view of the person who is reporting. And sometimes that is kind of muddied and confused as to whether we're actually getting what the CAB vote was, or whether we're getting the organization's view that the person who's reporting might belong to, or whether we're getting their personal view. And I'm just wondering if in the reporting there might be a clearer division between what the CAB vote was and what the personal opinion is of the person doing the reporting. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Additional public comment in Las Vegas?
No, thank you.
Public comment under agenda item 24 in Elko?
No comment, thank you.
One last call for Reno, public comment? If not, oh, I'm sorry. Come on up to the microphone.
Thank you.
Please state your name for the record when you start off.
My name is Louise Clark. I'm from Elko, and it's a privilege to be here. Commissioners, Director Wasley, thank you for your time today. It's a great time to be here after your two-day meeting and all this time. But I serve as Commissioner of Natural Resources in Michigan. As a matter of fact, our Chief of Wildlife is a former Chief of Nevada, which is kind of fun for us. Being a fellow commissioner, I know what the demands are like, especially when we are so late into your two-day agenda. I believe commissioners accept this role because of the system of government is representative and is not a direct democracy. Transparency for our constituents is what we strive for, no matter how long the public testimony period. It is truly a part of the democratic process. In Michigan, we have 5 divisions of DNR: law, wildlife, forestry, fishing, and state parks. Hunting and fishing revenue brings in about 92% of our total dollars. And we strive to keep this agency running as close as a corporate entity as possible. Our 5 divisions are humming along at this moment in 2015, 2014, and I believe it's a unique time that we're in, where our governor, our director, and our division chiefs are all working together in unprecedented collaboration. And this will not last forever, but for now, it's really great. But I have another job, and it's harder than my commission job because it involves my family. I'm president of Maggie Creek Ranch outside Elko. I have given you a book I put together about our river valley, which is where our home ranch is located, the history of it and the wildlife that calls it home. Please accept this as a gift from me, and if you are ever in Elko for meetings, which it doesn't sound like you're really going to be there too much, please consider staying at my home. It is conveniently located to Elko, and it is a beautiful setting. When my family bought Maggie Creek 40 years ago, we thought we could eventually run 5,000 pairs, hunt and fish as much as we wanted. But we assessed our situation and dealt with devastating fires and drought, and we're very conservatively and prudently running less than 2,000 head. I believe this type of management is cutting edge as we incorporate best practices for our industry. And I also believe 3 or 4 generations ago, there was possibly the grazers thought they had an unlimited sea of grass. And I think our country is still recovering from this overuse, but that's just a feeling I have. As far as hunting and fishing around the ranch, I'll leave that for another time. Recently, Maggie Creek has been nominated for the 2015 National Cattlemen's Association Environmental Stewardship Award. 5 beef operations across the country have been selected as finalists, and Nevada has 1, and that's saying a lot in this hospitable, harsh environment that is rugged as the day is long. Maggie Creek has already won just to be a finalist. Many people have enabled this distinguished award to be close to a reality for Maggie Creek. And this is the main reason I'm in front of you today. I'd like to thank our industry president, Ron Terrell, and Ted Cook, our U.S. Fish and Wildlife Field Supervisor, Rich Adams, the BLM manager, Carol Evans, the BLM Fisheries Biologist and Trout Unlimited Advisor. And I appreciate most what Ted Cook has said in his letter that he wrote for a recommendation for this award. Maggie Creek has been instrumental in promoting conservation measures within Elko County. They have been working collaboratively with federal, state, and local agencies to promote sustainable agriculture on private and public lands. The challenges faced by cattle producers and conservation practitioners in Nevada are many. With continuing drought and pressure from the land, from fire, invasive species, good and permanent management is more important than ever if we're going to maintain a working, productive landscape for future generations. In the past, Maggie Creek has had several unique situations dealing with fish and game. Some of our dealings were an Endow pronghorn roundup, Endow elk transplant. We're very close to a Lahontan cutthroat rearing pond deal in Lamoille, which didn't happen. But lastly, my manager, John Griggs, is my boots on the ground, ably coordinating all of this. This ranch is not the largest ranch in Elko, but it is one of the very well-managed places, and we are very, very happy that we are committed to raising the best beef in the Northwest and to the excellent land management and to our community at large. Being a good steward is important to us, and I know it's important to you as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, I appreciate the comments, and please feel free to visit with the commissioners.
I'd just like to say something, Mr. Clark. This is a very nice surprise, particularly for me. My grandparents settled in Carlin, Nevada after the war when they moved from Italy, the Manacucci's. My grandfather, Frank Manacucci, worked in a section house for the Southern Pacific Railroad east of Carlin for 36 years. I can remember going out there with him to clean the windshields on the trains and fuel them, which is what he did. And I remember the Maggie Creek Ranch and the Maggie Creek name and the Tamaras. Since I was 5, 6, 7 years old, I could remember those words coming out of my grandparents. And My aunt Yoli Sheeny still lives in Carlin. She's 76 years old. She's lived there her entire life. Love that town and the people around there. So this is really a nice surprise.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hope you enjoy.
Thank you very much. Additional public comment, Reno? All right, seeing none, we'll adjourn the meeting and reconvene in April. Thank you.